Way before Elden Ring hit the shelves, I always thought about possibly getting my feet wet into the world of Dark Souls and the notoriously difficult era of gaming. But I never actually did. And when I thought about it, I always kind of had Sekiro in mind. It seemed interesting, fresh, and different enough from Dark Souls, but still difficult like Dark Souls and had, Dark Souls-like elements and things. And so it was always kind of on my radar, but I never ended up playing it. And so with, Elden Ring done and my interest in Dark Souls only being piqued ever more than ever, I thought about playing it now. And so I got it while it was on a sale. And, the game is not what I was expecting, to say the least. And not necessarily in a bad way, but it's so different from Dark Souls, yet still Dark Souls at the same time. It's weird. You can tell the company that made Dark Souls still made this game, but if you go into it expecting it's the same kind of game, you're gonna be in for a rude awakening, kinda like I was. Again, that's not really a bad thing, because what the game is, if that's the kind of game you're looking for, is great. If you don't want the same old Dark Souls-y formula, but you still kind of want some of that little bit of goodness sprinkled in, this is kind of the perfect game. Now, it's funny because everybody in the game refers to your character, who's known as Wolf, as a ninja, but interestingly enough, I didn't think he was a ninja. I mean, he's got basically a samurai sword, but tomato tomato, it's still the same aesthetic. You're basically stealthing around a lot of the game, or at least that's one route you can go. Honestly, never mind. It's not a route you can go. Let's be honest. If you've played this game, stealth is highly encouraged. I didn't think that. I mean, I didn't know that going in, but stealth is very much the name of the game here. There's so much to this game, and I need to tackle it in a certain order, or else I'm just gonna go from one place to the next. So first off, let's just talk about the story and aesthetic of this game, or at least the story and aesthetic, and the story that I know of, because this isn't going to be like an overall review. This is just my first impressions of the game, because I've only played about 5-6 hours or so, maybe even more, but not crazy enough to where I can give a full overview of the game. I've only seen so much, and from what I have seen, the game is great, but it's also a lot. First of all, this is definitely old school Dark Souls in the sense that a lot of the in-depth things that are really going to help you in the game are not given to you. After a certain point during my playthrough, I kind of had to just look up a guide to just show me where it is I was supposed to go, because it gives you a lot of options but doesn't point you in any particular direction, which in a game like Elden Ring that's open world is fine. Especially since what you needed to do was told to you enough to where you could just figure it out, and whatever you were doing while you got there was whatever you wanted to do. But in this game, you start at point A, but point B, I don't know what point B really is. There's a lot of different points you can go. But again, oh my goodness, my thoughts are everywhere. First off, the story and aesthetic. The story basically is you are I was gonna say samurai again, but you're a ninja. You are a ninja, and you had a ninja dad who adopted you during some crazy ninja war between these two ninja factions. And now you wake up in the present, and your ninja dad is dead. The master that your ninja dad told you to protect at all costs is just straight up missing, and you don't even know how. You don't know what happened, you don't know where you are, all you know is that you gotta protect your master and figure out what the heck is going on. That's the story, or at least that's what's given to you. Everything else, you figure out as you go. And the story is, it's nice, it's great, it's there, but there's a lot I haven't seen, so I can't really give an overall perspective on that, but I'm intrigued, I'll say the least. From what I have seen, I'm very intrigued, because there is a lot going on beneath the surface, between what's going on in the present, what the heck I forgot about. It goes back and forth, which is interesting. But yeah, and the aesthetic, the ninja aesthetic, the old school Japanese aesthetic, it looks really nice. This game is, I don't want to say it's old, because it really isn't. It's like a generation ago, but it's great. It still looks good. Like, the graphics are still nice, the environments still look great, they're vibrant. I don't really have an issue even in the darker areas where it's like, oh, it's hard to see. Like, everything's great, everything looks good, and everything's detailed, everything's there with a purpose for a reason. And it's one of those games where the greatest items, the things that can help you out, are hidden in plain sight. All the collectibles, all the little things, and sometimes even just enemies are just hidden when you think you're safe, you're not safe. But yeah, story, aesthetic, everything's kind of great so far. Again, don't wanna give an overview because so far I think it's great. And again, I'm very intrigued about where the story's going. But I mean, this game is super old. I'm pretty sure anybody who's watching this knows where the story's going. But yeah, it's one of those things where the story's kind of handed to you. I get that Elden Ring feel where it's like, the main chunk of the story is there, but all the side pieces are stuff that you have to look for yourself. Definitely, I feel like they started doing that with Sekiro and continued on with Elden Ring. Because I'm pretty sure old school Dark Souls games did not do that. Like, if you wanted to know what the story was about, you had to figure it out. And so, I personally like this new change of pace. I'm a fan of that. But yes, story aesthetic aside, moving on to the combat, it's a big chunky section. But again, there's a lot of stealth here. This is a very stealthy game. You're a ninja after all. So the game rewards you a lot for stealth, and it's like Elden Ring in the sense that they're gonna throw a lot of enemies at you, but you're not expected to take on just hordes of people by yourself. Which is weird because, yeah, they don't expect you to, but are they gonna still throw them at you? Yes. There are so many instances where I just have to like separate all of these people to take them on one by one because I'm only one dude, and this isn't a game where you have like magic, or at least not yet anyway. So I'm kind of forced to just use my sword and my ninja tools and try to take care of these guys one by one. Parrying, countering, and just not dying while facing hordes of enemies, which is why stealth is really good, because if you can take out at least one or two dudes with stealth kill real quick, and then take on the pack of enemies when it's only like 3 dudes at that point, you're sitting straight, you're golden. That's the name of the game here. Take out as many people as you can using stealth, and then just try to worry about everybody else with other means. Boss experience is also interesting, because in this game, it's weird. Like, it's not as simple as bring their health bar to 0 and you win. It's different. So in Elden Ring, there was a stat in the game called the Poise Stat. And if you had a high enough poise, or if the enemy had a high enough poise, whether you parried them to all hell, or if you just wailed on them all day, they would not get staggered. Now, if they have a low poise and you parry them, or just attack them a lot of times in quick succession, they would get staggered. They would slump over, and then you could get like a big damaging hit on them. The same is true for Sekiro, except instead of it being a hidden stat that didn't have a gauge associated to it and you couldn't really see as the player, you can see that in Sekiro. It has its own gauge, and you're very much incentivized to utilize this stagger system and to parry and to get this gauge maxed out as often as possible, because in most encounters you have to get a stagger hit or a death blow on the bosses in order to kill them. You have to get at least 2 death blows in order to fully kill the boss, which is basically just 2 health bars in and of itself, because normally their health bar is pretty low by the time their stagger gauge gets filled up. And again, you also have a stagger gauge, so you have to manage both your health and your stagger gauge, because you can't just parry, and expect their stagger gauge to blow up all the time. Sometimes you parrying certain attacks only makes your stagger gauge go up more. And so that's gonna screw you over if you think parrying everything is gonna send you to the end game in like 2.5 seconds. That's not how it works. A rude awakening I had to experience, but it's very different, very different. Now, there are some fights that behave a little differently where they only have, like, let's say, I'm gonna call it like 1 death blow requirement type of gauge thing. But those fights play out a little differently, and the only fight I've seen that does that, I was clearly not prepared for and not leveled up enough for, so I got demolished. But yeah, it's interesting how boss fights anyway play out this way, because it makes it a lot more different than other enemies, especially oh man, especially when you like think you're in the clear and work so hard just to get one death blow off, when it's like no, you gotta do that again. It's an interesting system. Sometimes it's not fun because you have to work even harder to get the bosses down, but I mean, it just makes it more rewarding when they actually do die, so there's also that. Gameplay is interesting. There's a lot of fun stuff going on where there's a lot of tools that you have, and a lot of more tools I'm sure they're gonna throw at me, and there's a lot of ways to handle every situation. There's even a skill tree, and so it's interesting, and I'm enjoying where the combat is going. It's just difficult not to get overwhelmed because there are a lot of enemies, and it sucks because this is an old school-esque Dark Souls game where the checkpoint from point A to boss is rather lengthy. You're not going to be able to just die and go right back to the boss fight. You're going to die and have to go right back through the hallway with all the enemies in it, then through the cave with all the bats in it, then out the side with all the crazy like giant monsters through there, and then you get to fight the boss. It's not fun. That's something I'm never gonna miss once this game is off my library. I do not like that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm trying to learn this fight. I'm already getting punished enough for having to start all the way over. Don't punish me again for having to go through all these mobs of enemies. Now, at least with the experiences I've had so far, you don't have to kill everybody. You can easily just sneak on through them half of the time. But still, why? That's just a hassle. Especially if I end up screwing up to where I have to fight them, then that's just resources I'm using, and it's stress, and I don't like it. That's just something I'm glad they have gotten rid of, and hopefully that'll continue to be a trend, because I don't think anybody likes that. It's artificial difficulty. It's the bosses and the encounters, they're hard enough. I don't need to make an entire marathon length of a trek to go back to the boss fight that I died at for the 50th time. I'm good. But yeah, gameplay wise, it's fun so far. Again, it's hard to give like a grand overview when I haven't played all of the game, but from what I've seen so far and experienced, I'm having fun. And I hesitate with that because again, there's just moments where it's like, ugh, this is just too much. The enemies that they throw at you, it's a little much. And again, when it comes to exploration, it can easily feel like you're not really sure exactly where you're supposed to be going. At least not for me. It's not like pointing me exactly in the direction of the boss or pointing me in the direction of where the objective is. Because there's a section where you have this main stretch of road that you're going through and you're fighting these dudes, and then you do this side quest that unlocks this thing where you're viewing your old memories of the past that you've forgotten. And so that's a whole nother level in and of itself. But I'm just sitting here wondering, okay, which one's required, which one's optional, and how do I get through both? And so I'm trying to get through this whole past level section, which I sort of kind of got lost in, and I'm also trying to get through the present section, which I also sort of kind of got lost in, and I'm not sure which one I need to like full send, try to figure out where to go in, or full send, try to figure out, like, I just don't know what's optional or what's like required. And so just pushing my way through that, because I got to the boss of the past section, but it's like, do I just try to force my way through there, or should I go back to the present and figure out where to go from there? I don't know what's optional. I don't know what's required. Maybe that the past stuff gives me a secret ending. I don't know. There's nothing's explained. Nothing's yeah, I mean, it just tells you enough for you to, like, you know, go have fun, Jimmy, but not enough for you to really know exactly what you need to be doing. But it's fine. Again, overall, I'm enjoying my time. I don't regret the hours I've put in. I really enjoy the world that's being built so far. There's a lot of questions that I have, a lot of things that I would like to be answered. You know, as Dark Souls does, despite this being a very realistic looking kind of game. I mean, this isn't based off true events, but if it almost seems like it could have been. And then, of course, with Dark Souls things, they sprinkle in a little bit of the mystical and stuff, but it's still kind of sticking to the theme, you know, like the weird monsters in there are kind of like, you know, old school Japanese mythology type beasts, and like the mythical stuff is like old school Japanese mythology type mythical things, and so nothing feels out of place, but it does kind of keep you reeled into like, oh, I'm still playing a video game despite a lot of this still feeling like quite the cinematic experience. And so it's really cool. I think the game is really fun and has a lot to offer, and I'm very much interested to see what else I have in store for this game. But oh boy, it's a difficult experience to say the least. A very difficult experience. It's again, it's a part of it is just the aspect of going back in time, going from, you know, a game where they fixed a lot of the mistakes of the past to going back to that past and seeing some of those mistakes. Despite the game still being good despite the mistakes, it's still like, ugh, there's a lot of stuff here, you know. But I'm still enjoying it. At the end of the day, this is still a fun game. I don't regret the purchase. I'm just very curious to know what my final opinions will be at the end of the day, if I'll even get to the end of this, because I don't know. I'm not sure if I'll see the end of this Dark Souls Sekiro with this Sekiro experience. But yeah, either way, this is it's not a 10 out of 10 experience, but very much an 8 out of 10 experience. But I'm not gonna give a rating. I'm not done with the game yet, and it wouldn't be fair to do so. But I'm interested to see what's going down. And it's weird because I have seen this game to its completion. I saw like a YouTuber beat the whole game back when it first came out, and that was years ago. And so now I'm kind of playing the game for the first time myself, but I'm almost like experiencing it for the first time all over again, which I guess leads into the conversation of like playing a game and watching someone else play it is two totally different things. But it's just interesting because like I've seen this entire game, I've seen it, and yet I don't remember it. But like I'm slowly like putting in the pieces to where it's like, this is my own experience despite me seeing this whole experience already before in the past. English. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a weird, not deja vu, but kind of type of feeling. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to seeing where this game goes. And despite this being a all over the place kind of video, because this is just like here are my thoughts blurted out on a video type of video, I'll maybe give like a just full-on review once the whole thing is said and done. But for now, that'll do. This is my Sekiro experience. It's not the... Because my main concern was, how bad is it gonna be going from Elden Ring, going back to any Dark Souls game, whether it be Sekiro, Dark Souls 3, or anything like that. That was my main concern. But at least going back to Sekiro, it's not that... It is jarring. I was about to say it's not that jarring, but it is, just because it's Sekiro. It's so different from Dark Souls, yet it still has Dark Souls in it. But the experience is so unlike anything Dark Souls has ever offered before that it's entirely different game. Like, you could say that this was made from a different company and I'd probably believe you. But at the same time, I also kind of wouldn't. But I don't know. It's still good. All in all, this is still good. I still like it. I'm just very indifferent about it. It's like I have words I want to say about it, but they're not seasoned yet. They're not quite done brewing yet. So maybe give me like 30 more hours into the game time, and maybe then I'll have a full-on opinion. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. And I will have another video out for you guys soon, of course. But until then, take care and God bless.